Hello everyone, today we take a look at one of my favorite graphics cards when it comes to PCB goodness. This is the MSI GTX 580 Lightning, a heavily modified GTX 580 graphics card that was purpose-made for extreme overclocking. The card has several features that you will not find in a reference GTX 580 that can greatly increase overclocking potential. But before we get into the details, let's do a general overview of the card in its out-of-the-box configuration. Immediately upon picking up the card, you notice just how heavy it is, despite being visually less imposing than some other GTX 580s like the Asus GTX 580 Direct CO2 that you will also take a look at sometime later. The card has a 2-fan internal exhaust cooler with 5 heat pipes that is only responsible for cooling the GF110 GPU core on the card. VRAM and VRMs are cooled by a single separate base plate that also helps with structural integrity. The 2 fans are pretty beefy looking compared to what you would see on most graphics cards, and they do have a very high quality feel to them. It's almost as if MSI used fans that were made for a computer case on this cooler, which might actually be true based on how much air these can move when the card is running. In terms of display I/O, the card is actually very impressive. It includes 2 DVI connectors with analog support, as well as a full-sized HDMI and DisplayPort, and all that on a card that had its reference models shipped with 2 DVI and a mini HDMI connector. This card also has the display I/O gold-plated, which makes it look very nice, but it should be more than a visual than a practical feature. Just like the last card, this one uses 2 8-pin PCIe connectors, which is to be expected on a card that is based on the infamously power-hungry and hot-running Fermi architecture. Left to the power connectors, we can see the first extreme overclocking feature of this card. These white connectors are voltage read points for the V-Core, VMEM and VPLL VRM of the card. To a normal user these might not serve any purpose, but for a professional overclocker these are very nice quality of life features. Turning the card on its back reveals even more extreme overclocking features. The card has several switches that can enable features like manual voltage tuning or extreme cooling modes for liquid nitrogen overclocking. There is also a BIOS switch present on the card, which is not generally regarded as an extreme overclocking feature, but it is nonetheless a nice to have. Some other noteworthy features on the back of the card are these LEDs that show the status of the 12 V-Core VRM phases and these big black squares. These are so-called prod-lysers, and they are a special type of capacitor that is extremely good at VRM output filtering to minimize voltage ripple in the power supply of the GPU. The main heatsink is attached with only 4 screws around the GPU core. Once removed, the entire heatsink can be removed and the fan connector can be disconnected. The fan connector is a standard 4-pin fan connector, so this card is compatible with aftermarket heatsink fans. Please note that my GTX 580 Lightning has been modified by breaking the adhesive seal between the metal IHS and the actual GPU core for better thermals. Should you disassemble this card yourself, you'll find the IHS sticking to the GPU on the board rather than the heatsink like it is here. You are now able to replace the GPU thermal paste if you want. Should you want to replace the thermal pads on the VRAM or the VRMs, you will have to remove the metal base plate as well. It is being held on by 2 screws in the I/O section and 9 screws on the back of the card. Once the screws are removed, you should use caution when removing the base plate, since the thermal pads that MSI used can be damaged very easily, especially those on the VRAM modules. Once the base plate is off, you have access to all parts of the card. Once finished with maintenance, you can reassemble the card by doing previous steps in reverse. This concludes this teardown video. If you enjoyed, please consider to leave a like or even subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Until we see each other next time. Goodbye.